Erin and I have been working together for the last couple of years. I just do the normal RevThink business, consulting side of it. But I've watched this program that she's been doing called the Skrimps develop more and more. And I kind of know the work behind it. And it feels like today is like there's a tipping point coming, if it hasn't already passed, where these we've gone from toys to tools with this generative AI product. And specifically, what you've been able to do with Scrimps is actually get to that tool category where
Yeah.
you're kind of growing. So I thought it'd be nice just to share what you've been doing and what it's really like to develop this intellectual property and original content idea, and just introduce the Scrimps to people so people can kind of see what it is you've done and how long you've been doing it. Uh,
Yeah.
so just as an Instagram feed, this latest stuff is, even stuff in motion and Bob Ross,
This is your world that you can create anything that you want in it. You've
Yeah.
been.
but it didn't start out this way. Like you really kind of started out where you were. I was going to try to find some of the earlier stuff, which seems a little rough earlier on, right? Because
Yeah,
you're
it's
just
really
kind of
rough.
figuring out the pieces or whatever. Well,
Yeah.
what's
This is
the like?
officially the first scrim. That's me. That's the first thing I ever
Oh,
scrimmed.
yeah,
Like,
you are.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
other people and
Yeah.
politicians, whatever. So, how about you just talk about like where you started? Like, what I know there's the backstory a little bit of why you chose this look and this feeling with AI, and how those two things relate, and why you went down this path for it.
Like, why even? Like, why even? I'm not into like character dev. I'm not like Buck doing characters day and night. I'm more of a pure designer. Well, there was I was definitely like AI curious when it came out, right? Like, especially generative image and video. Although video wasn't really a thing yet, though you could tell it was coming. Um, so so where it started was people started posting pictures of themselves as like wizards and musicians, like all over Facebook and Instagram. And what that was basically Midjourney now had a feature where you could upload a picture of yourself and then start prompting. And so people just started doing that. And me and my friend Austin Shaw share a Discord channel where we were playing around, generating things. And I got in there and I started trying. I uploaded my picture, my headshot, and I started playing and working to turn it into a Muppet. And I start working and working, and then he sees me working in there because the beeping is hitting his office, and then he starts playing, and we start building off of each other's prompts, and sure enough, like we start like really getting somewhere, and it's fucking hilarious. Like we're having the best time ever, and we're noticing, and this was early days. This was Midjourney V4, so like really, I don't know what version they're on now, but very early because version 3 is like super rudimentary. um yeah, I feel like I'm going down memory lane here. It's
I
like
know.
years.
I'm probably
Yeah,
distracting you.
no, it's okay. I'm like, oh, those were awesome when we do these little series. um and we would post like a million in one carousel. Now we're doing like one a post, which is makes it much more efficient um in terms of like how much time. But yeah, so we started getting somewhere, and then once we landed on mine, we started working on his, and then we started sharing them. Like we put them on social, and people just like lost their shit. Like, how did you do this? Do me. Like, so we would pick a couple of people, we would do them. um, and then and then they would lose their shit and post it on social, and it just became like this little thing. Like you could really tell it was like bringing a lot of joy, and it was bringing a lot of joy to make them and to see people respond and laugh. And so we just really enjoyed it for a while, and we kept doing it. Like Austin scrimped his class, I scrimped everybody at the studio, clients started asking for it, and it became like this just kind of fun thing that we did that people posted, like very inner circle kind of stuff. Um, and then it hit a point where like mid-journey, like I couldn't get the results anymore. Neither could Austin. And so Austin was like, fuck this. I'm out. I'm doing other stuff. He's into collage and all this other. And so, but I like kept working on it. And I was banging on it in the studio, and that's when Dwart, one of my creative directors, said he just saw something that said, Mid-Journey like upped its version and that maybe I should go back a version. And I didn't even realize there were versions of like the model. So I went back and I was like back in business because I was now the only one working in 4. And I'm pretty confident I was the only one. So I was actually shaping the model. Um, anyway, so yeah, so I started getting results again, and then I felt like kind of confident about it, and I wanted to do it more and more. And so why I really want to, I feel like I left something out, like why I've always been a fan of kind of Muppets, but like not just Muppets, like Fraggles, like the fucked up Muppets, like the like left of center ones. And I'm a fiber artist. I love buying fiber art. I love creating it. And I've always wanted to do kind of felted portraits, but like it just takes so much time. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's it's a hobby that I would absolutely have going like that granular, but once I could do it in AI, I was like, oh damn, like let me see if I could like design some to then make, right? Like make one of my kit or something. But then it just, started popping. And
So for you,
so
like
yeah.
it's like others, they have a concept and idea. They couldn't ever really make it in real life using traditional
Yeah.
animation forms or live action shoots or even modeling. But you can take a curiosity, a little bit of a hobby, and start exploring it, and it
Oh,
develops more and more and more into really
totally.
a product.
And that's a lot of why like it started to look really cool because I knew all the terms. Like I knew like the knitting terms, the drop stitch, the fringe edge, the like baubles, which are little like balls that you can knit into things. Like, and what's so great is AI is just so fucking literal. It takes direction very, very well. And then I would even give it direction of like how I wanted it shot and like the kind of backgrounds I wanted it to be on and how I wanted it to be very portrait-like. So there was like a consistency in the look. And in the beginning, I would definitely take them and kind of mash them together. So a lot of the earlier ones, I couldn't fully get the results in like one go. So there was definitely a lot more compositing back in the early days to try and get it like perfect.
I
Um,
I, I swear I've heard like this naive approach to AI, and you kind of hit it here, is that the thought that somebody can use generative AI as a creative output and not have to be a creative person at all is really kind of a naive way of looking at it. I mean, it will generate something, but the more clear you are with the direction, the more advanced you are as a creative person, the more
yeah,
advanced the output will be. And that's going to be a differentiator as this thing
yeah.
goes along. And I think you've discovered the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's also in how you prep the images and like, all of that. But I mean, AI is just simply garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly right.
it's like garbage in, garbage
I
out. So you
know.
gotta know
Very
what,
literal tool. Yeah.
yeah, what you're doing. And then when you're doing direction working incrementally and not just like sweeping and starting like over, just doing once you have something cooking, doing like small incremental changes to find the sweet spots of certain just ways of prompting or order of prompts or just things like that. So it takes a lot of patience. AI takes a lot of patience. It's a little bit like fishing. Like, there's fish in there, what it eats, like where it is, but you got to have a lot of patience to kind of get there.
Yeah, but
Um,
I kind of want people to hear that, is that there it is development. It's like original development of everything. It takes a
yeah,
lot of time to write a script, to put a product together, to cast something, to like no matter what you're developing,
yeah,
nothing's overnight anyway. And in a way,
yeah,
like this is again moving into that tool category. This is as a new tool that people can use to start that development process. And then if you put 2 years into it,
yeah.
you kind of have a product line. And I think you're offering, like you're starting to recognize that not just the skill you've developed, but maybe even the Skrimps itself could be an offering that's out there in the
Yeah.
marketplace.
Well, it definitely shows like the embracing of AI as a tool as a studio, as when people are out there see like these things that are posted and know that it's us. I do have to say there was a point um after I knew I could just keep generating in version 4 where I was like, oh, I should brand this and like try and pitch a little series with these characters. So that's when I came up with the Meet the Skrimps name, and I called my lawyer and we trademarked it, and I did like a deep dive on like, if this is AI, like what is ownable, what isn't ownable. It's done in Midjourney, so it's not like, so he like walked me through the process there, and it wasn't like a fool's errand where I wouldn't be able to do anything with this. It was very clear that all of this would be very usable, and that even though there's a lot of parodies of people, that they too would be very usable. So I felt comfortable, and then I just like did what we all do, which is like stay up for a weekend straight and build a brand website and Instagram and like get all the handles and make the logos and do all that stupid shit, and then all of a sudden you have like a little brand. Um, and then it felt real because people started calling it Scrimps like with sincerity. Like, oh, I've been Scrimps, Scrimps, scrimp me. And you're like, oh, okay, it's real. Yeah.
It's becoming a verb, not just a noun, right?
Yeah, noun and a verb is pretty fun.
You're winning
Extra
there.
scrimpy. Yeah, like extra scrimpy. So
Yeah, when it's understood enough that you can
yeah.
the terminology. I know this story, but I would love to share some of the most famous people that have scrimps and then
Yeah.
know about it and give you some feedback and even ask for more things.
Yeah. So the latest grouping that's been posted that people really liked of them was like the cast of Napoleon Dynamite did a lot of sharing of it, losing the, which is like so on, like very on brand. But I have a friend, some people might know him because he's like in our business, but this guy Rob Sanborn, I didn't realize it. We had lost touch since our days working together at Digital Kitchen and Superfad, and he's a West Coaster. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But he reached out one day and was like, "Hey, this scrim stuff, like, can I commission one?" And I'm like, "Just send me your picture, I'll do you. It's fine." Like all good. He's like, "Oh no, it's not for me, it's for my future brother-in-law." And I'm like, "Okay, send me his picture." And he's like, "I'll pay you." And I'm like, "Okay, you don't have to pay me. Just send me his picture. Like if you pay me, it becomes a job and I don't like I don't need feedback on scrimps." So um, and I was like missing the connection here. Apparently, everybody knew but me, but apparently his future brother-in-law was going to be Jeff Bezos. So his wife is Lauren Sanchez's sister. So I'm spreading the word here very publicly. So I scrimped Jeff Bezos for him for his 60th birthday. And then we actually had it made like in real life. And so he got the first ever IRL script and he thought it was absolutely fucking hilarious. It was a very complimentary script and there was like a lot of rounds of
Yeah,
like
I'm
getting
sure.
it. And like, that's one of the first ones where I was like, oh, like it has to be scrimpy, but it has to be complimentary. And so what is like, how do I do that? And that's when the first time I started prompting like laughter and big smiles and all of that into the work. And so that becomes like a big differentiator between, I think, a Muppet and a scrimp is actually the facial expression. Um, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Scrimps
And
have been tethered, torn and ripped by the world. They are
if you go
threadbare.
backwards up that Instagram feed, you can see the development of the stages
Yeah.
when there's tipping points and changes.
Yeah, definitely.
And then getting to a point where it started animating. And I think the
Yes.
animation tipping point is where you got to the point of like, oh, wait a second, I'm actually getting into content. You've
Yeah.
moved into now way far from toy, definitely into tool, but that tool is becoming a basis for output that you could depend on, bank
Do for
on.
anything. Yeah, you
Yeah,
could do it
you could
for
produce something with it and so on. Yeah.
any kind of animated character. Yeah.
What like you could talk about script specifically, but in your experience now, just with AI, can you see something forward casting? I called it in the promo future native content. Like you're recognizing that the technology itself has a native ability to do something that no other technology has allowed for. I see Sam is on this call. Sam pointed out that his Oregon Trail videos were something he could have never done. So it's future native because the technology allowed him to open the door to something that's there. Can
Mm.
you see that a little bit and almost understand and encourage people to what that recognition is instead of the scarcity thought that you're replacing something to actually generating something that would have never been generated?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All of this came because of play and having a deep interest in something, enjoying it, wanting to develop it further. Like once I decided I wanted to animate it, first I, lobbed it to my team here and it was just too time consuming. And I was like, okay, I can't invest in hundreds of hours of my teams animating these things. It's like, I don't have the money for that to pay full-time salaries for that. And so then it became about like, okay, these video tools are coming out. Like, can I utilize those? And so then I like basically subscribe to everything and I start doing tests and I'm like close, but like there's just like holes in everything. And um, so then it became like reaching out to my network and talking to everybody about like how, like, this is my problem. Like, do you know anybody that can help me figure it out? And that's when I was introduced to Vasil in Paradiso. And we started talking and collaborating on, yeah, like how could these things come to life? And again, just like playing and building and, working at it. To get them animated and solve a lot of problems. Like I feel like one of our biggest problems was for all of the lip sync tools because I wanted it to be talking. It was very important for me. Like I wanted to scrimp people, real people out in the world and have them saying what they say, but like with their scrimp body. And so a la Bob Ross, which is the very sweet version of that. I'm also working on the press secretary, which is a less sweet version of that.
That'll be awesome.
They're sweet and they're sour, right? And everything kept like all of these models that existed kept changing into a photoreal mouth, and it just was so creepy and not right. And so the experiments were there, but it was like, okay, how can we then problem solve to this next layer, problem solve to this next layer? So it's just been like a series of problem solving um, to the point of which we're now creating a tool together to be able to churn this stuff out. And it's really cool what's being built. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it at work. I'd say it's getting to a point where it's very dependable. So if a client asks you to work with this tool that you built, you know that you could deliver elements really
Yeah.
at a larger scale than ever
Yeah.
before and accurate to the brand.
Yeah. And I think like really the key is we have this tool and it works, right? But we also have a taste level that we know is acceptable, where we know the point at which it's like acceptable. And there's something about the scrimps being scrimpy where if something's a little messed up, it's actually adding to the charm. Like I did Wayne's World, and when I did Wayne, his eyebrow was stuck to the rim of his hat, and it was freaking hilarious. And I was just like, oh, that's so scrimpy. I want to keep that. And because it's just so great. Yeah, so they're trusting us and our like level of production value, but also if it's not getting something, we have the tools and the know-how to like make that alteration, whether it's in CG or the flame or something like that. We have other tools to kind of like mine the gaps, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your level of capability, I know that because of Skrimps and what you've done, projects unrelated to Skrimps, with people coming to you and saying, I saw what you did using generative tools. Would this be possible? Would this be possible? And you're kind of moving towards expertise, whatever that might be, with 18 months experience, but that's the front end of this curve right now.
Yeah, what's cool is when you show a client, especially a client that has like an animated character as part of their brand, they just get it immediately and they're like, holy shit. Like, holy shit. But you have to train this stuff. So you have to train it with real artistry and work. So there's a whole bunch of work that goes into it before you can actually train the lore and put it all together. And so it's incredibly naive to think that like just a random person can do this. It does take the expertise of our industry and just knowing what works and what doesn't, like having just that level of skill and just 20 years of experience, 30 years. Oh my God, that's so long.
Yeah.
yeah, of making things and doing stuff and knowing the standards at which your clients work and knowing what the feedback's going to be and all of that. The great thing about being like the client for Scrimps is like I can craft, sketches and like what our next thing that we're going to start doing is to where the technology is at. Where when you have a client come in, they could say anything at any point, but also like I know that we know how to bridge the gap if it comes up. So
A couple weeks ago, we talked about the pricing, like how do we, when a client asks us to do something, how would we price the work done and so on. And I actually kind of shared, just because of my experience working with you and things that you've seen, that
yeah,
we're seeing the ability to actually engage in building out a season of graphics or something like that, putting the whole
yeah,
model together on behalf of a client and charging for the model, opposed to a lot of people thinking the same way that they do motion graphics, which is I'll give you the designs for free just so you pay me to do the output. But this is a moment where we can flip the model and say, no,
flip it.
actually, you'll do the front end stuff of it. The machine's doing the back end, and that doesn't cost as much,
Yeah,
and almost raising profit and margin and so on if you, because you're engaging that model making front end.
yeah. I I totally agree with that. And I think right now to start, it's going to be a little bit of pay what you weigh. Like, the cheeseburger costs, like, whatever you can kind of afford to pay for it or how much value it's going to bring to you. Because we've definitely had some interest with kind of, I would say, smaller kind of clients. They see the value of it, but they're like kind of on this, they're on a tipping point where like, how much value would that really bring me? Like if I spend just that very little. But then if you take it to a bigger brand, I think if you price it too low, they're gonna not think it's as special as it is. So I think at that point, so for some brands, I think you pay what it is. They pay what it is to like just get them engaged and get them working, and just do like a minimal viable product. And then for like a bigger client that really gets the value of it right away, you give them a big number. But I like your point, like because they're also going to be a much more higher maintenance client. They're going to need constant, support and, engagement. So, but I like the idea of having it campaignable. Like we talked about this. So like if we do like a base campaign for them and then add a generator on top of it, like we can use the actual base campaign to train everything and do all that base work. And then that becomes almost like a kit, so to speak, but like a super powerful one because that's the time, money, and volume, right? Like they'll pay a lot of money if it saves a lot of time and it gives them a lot of volume. But where the gap we're seeing is in like the level of quality and expertise. And I think that's where, you know, we can bridge the gap between like polished broadcast work and like kind of shitty AI stuff that people are just cranking out.
Well, it's also like, what you're programming the model with has to have a certain quality, so the machine is learning that quality. So there
Yeah.
is kind of hard work building up front, and that might be
Oh yeah.
manual or animation or real person's hours to
Bottom
create those
stuff. Yeah.
models, to create that scale in the back end. And that's where creative direction really, really matters. I think
Yeah.
a lot of us, like some of the brands I know that have talked to you, are smaller brands. They're not going to appreciate the value of what you're giving them because they don't have this need for scale that this would get there. It's more just
Yeah.
like a tchotchke thing that they can play with. And they're almost in your mind, you say, well, we should do it for this smaller brand because at least we're getting a chance. But in reality, like if you can do it for that small brand, and because now you understand consistency, you can actually take on a large, gigantic multinational corporation and do a product line for them because you've learned that very dependable output. You've built models that can replicate the success over and over again. Now, why would you even shop it around to someone small? There's
Right.
no reason to. But the encouragement is actually that's why the investment is worth it. If you take something that you're curious and you like and it's kind of hobby, what you're really learning is a skill that, by the way, 18 months has you at the front end of that curve, right? Like it's crazy just how, only a couple of years, it is a couple of years, but only a couple of years gets you at the forefront of this technology. Now there's like those things that we wished were around for the last 20 years in that value prop have now shown up on our doorstep. And if we recognize it, we can take advantage of the value proposition because you're building out a model that has potential for tens of thousands of output because you've done it right.
Yeah. There was a question about revisions, and I think the key when you think about just communicating to the client what they're getting is they're getting a shot generator the way you would if you were filming live action. And so revisions kind of take on, you do another take or you noodle the take with traditional methods. So there's that. I think that's just an education with what they're actually buying. And when you frame it like that, they're much more, they're open to it. The key really that's been special working with the SIL is really being able to get a character consistent from shot to shot, and that's where AI in all of the existing base models like web interface out there, that you're not going to get shot consistency of your character. It's just, or just slightly different angle of it or something like that. So we've been really working on that as well. And it's kind of amazing, like what you can do
once you
now.
figure out that part of.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're capped at anything right now? Do you feel that the industry isn't willing to buy something or allow you to make something? Is there a pushback? Traditional artists, you're afraid to put yourself out there too far and become the enemy, anything like that?
No, I feel like it's still early days. So people know they're kind of engaging with first generation technology when you're talking about developing a pipeline. You know what I mean? Like, so when you talk to them, like with this last client we were talking about like, we expect, usable generations to be around 50 to 60%. You know what I mean? So just giving them a baseline, like not everything's going to be fucking perfect. Like that's just not how it works. That's not how shooting live action works. There's going to be like one good take and you're going to get there and get it. So I think it's in about like setting expectations, but right now I think my goal is to find somebody with money that like really has to, because of like internal reasons, fully embrace AI. Like where it's a company that's like, there's been a mandate, there's been money set aside for it. They need to figure out how to utilize it for them. And so finding, 2 or 3 of those to kind of really get down and dirty with, exactly. So yeah. And then like experimenting and saying like, just being honest with this is you're going to get content you can use, and a lot of it, not everything is going to be usable though, and that's okay.
I'd love for anyone to chime in, anyone that's trying something or is trying to figure something out. If you have any specific questions or general questions to Erin of how she got through some of the struggles, that'd be great. And then
it's a lot of asking around. I mean, like when you hit walls, like there's been like significant walls I've hit along the way, and I've just started asking people and just like broadcasting like what my problem with the Skrimps was. It's like I'm at a point and the model is changing, and so now everybody knows. And then when Duarte sees like, oh, the version changed, and then then I'm doing this animation and I'm getting these creepy mouths. So I'm talking to somebody who is like in deep at Amazon, helping one of the big, VFX companies do crowd models, you know what I mean? And they're trying to help me, and they're helping me like hone in my prompting and hone in all this stuff, and then I'm at, Paradiso, and I'm talking to Fasil, and he's like, I got something for you. I think we can figure this out. I think like that's the key, is just like never did I give up on my little project that I thought was fun. And I, there's so much out there right now sparking. Like I'm getting reach out from corporations about it. And I've definitely had a little bit of interest from some streamers that are kind of like, what is this going to be? Like, you know, so so there's some percolation out there. And I'm continuing to invest in growing the audience a little bit by just doing some ads and seeing what the follows are and, what content is more like than other content, and just to see where the shares are and what people have the appetite for. So kind of letting the audience kind of lead the way on what kind of content they like. Yeah.
I'll say a couple of kind of easy pointers that I would point to that I think you've won at, or like been able to get ahead of, is one, that it became a brand in and of itself, and you didn't put it under the Sarofsky brand. You keep it as a separate brand, even though it's you, and it's not influencing the Sarofsky side of things. It has its own legs to it. I think that's huge. I think that you stayed consistent and you kept going at it. So you have hundreds of characters now, instead of trying something for a couple of weekends, understanding something, thinking in your mind, you understood it, and then you walked away. The fact you stuck with it over 2 years has developed something. And
Yeah.
when it seems like when the corporations or influencers are calling you, that's some of the questions they have for you, is like, because you keep making it. It's almost like, wait a second, you're keep doing this. They can imagine anything that they have to manage or produce would have to be at the same level of the production, pipeline that you put in place. So
Yeah.
you must have won. So that separation, the separate branding, and then the consistency. If anybody sees themselves moving into this field, clearly I would tell them the same thing. Find the one thing and keep on doing that one thing over and over and over again. No one is confused that you only make puppet figures. I know
No.
the businesses have called you and they have nothing to do with puppet looking figures, but they can see what you've figured out about AI, and that's what they care about more than the
Yeah.
image that you're doing for your own personal project. I think that's a huge win for the Sarofsky side,
Yeah, for
because
the Sarofsky side, yeah.
yeah.
There's definitely two sides of the coin here. Like somehow I created a little world of characters, that could be a show or a series or who knows what it could be. So, oh, Siri thinks I'm talking there. I'm gonna shut her off. I'm like, what the hell?
You said series, and
I
then
said, I did say it. So, um, they're listening.
speaking of stupid AI.
Yeah, Apple will call me. I'll make a show for you. Um, but like, part of me thinks like, oh, this would be like a fun like crypto kids series. You know what I mean? So if I get it far enough, like I can send the little deck to James and see what he thinks. I just like want to be ready for that. And have it be amazing creatively, before
Yeah.
I start tossing it to my network. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah,
Anybody in the middle of a project they want to compare notes with Erin, what she's doing and what you're doing? Anything like that? Just raise your hand or unmute yourself. Either way, it's fine. I'll spotlight
That's a
you.
big crowd. I thought we were gonna have two people. Yeah, it's like nobody cares about this, Tim.
People care. It's the world we're living in now. I think there's more
Yeah.
kind of to this space than not. Yeah. Anyone? You, no. Yeah, go ahead, Ollie.
Aaron. Just a quick one. Have you ever thought about adapting this to like some real-time stuff, like real-time motion capture, like you're saying about doing a show. It's one of those things that you see like a lot of people using Unreal with their like camera in their face and moving and stuff like that. I'm just wondering, is there that opportunity of like, almost having like a little like real-time show with them? I know it's hard because you have to like get the models working and all that stuff, but I don't know, it just looked like there's a lot of potential in that for sure.
Yeah. So like I don't know that it has to be a show. I was thinking it would be like a fun like avatar,
Hmm.
or just like communication, like Snapchat or whatever. Uh, but yeah, we have been thinking about it. It's just a matter of like, I feel like yeah, like we will build it and they will come, or we will build it far enough and they will come and show interest, and then there will be like some backing to like make it move faster. So that's what I'm hoping. Um, but there are some companies that are kind of percolating that I feel like that must be what they're after, because otherwise, why would they be calling us for this? So to have meetings. Um, so it's interesting. So I'll say there is, I think, hopefully some real-time stuff in the future with the Skrimps. That wouldn't be my first thing that I like want to explore with it, but why not?
Yeah, right.
I could see your Skrimps talking to me right now. Yeah,
I'd
I
love to
think
see
that would
that.
be hilarious.
Yeah, because I love actually, sorry, one other thing is just like how you said about the Jeff Bezos stuff of like making one. Because like I remember showing my mom one of the scrimps back home, and she was like, "Is this a Wooble? You know, like the little Wooble
Yeah.
things you can get and stuff." And she was like, "How do I get one of these?" And I was like, "This is AI generated." But for her and her brain,
Yeah.
she was just like, "This is a real thing." But it's really, I'd say that's very rewarding for you, for someone seeing your work online and actually think it's actually real. You know?
Yeah, some people get pissed, some people are impressed, depends on where they sit of the spectrum of like AI believers. But I literally have an email in my inbox that is from like the head of surgery at some hospital going, I would like I would like Keith Richards. And I was like, it's online. You can just take it, just do whatever you want with it. And he's just like, no, I want one. And I go, oh, this isn't real. This is just a picture. And he's like, oh, but like, how do I get the real one? Can you make me one? And I'm just like, okay, well, the only other person that has one is Jeff Bezos, and we can certainly make you one if you want. And he's like, yeah, I want one. And I'm just like, okay, this is so bizarre. It's bizarre the amount of people that have like tracked down who we are and called the office, because I give breadcrumbs on the Meet the Scrimps website. So for anybody like going down a rabbit hole, but I'm like, no, these aren't like head of surgery. These aren't real.
Yeah. Head of surgery can't figure
Head
out
of
that it's not.
surgery. I'm like, what hospital are you at?
Yeah, right. Avoid.
Note to self. Yeah. No, but it is convincing. It's very convincing. You see the fuzz and the tooth, and that has been a big important part to me of like first things like when selecting a scrimp that I look at is the texture. Is the texture right? If it's even slightly plasticky or off, it's like a no-go. And then once the texture is right, is it reading as the person? Is it funny? Is it, I don't know, all the things. So yeah.
Yeah, the
People
texture
think it's
part is truly some of the magic that you feel comfortable with whatever the output is too. So
yeah.
it's kind of the fun identifiable quality, like the Aussie image is like perfect, but it has to have glass to have the eyeglasses thing work, and then the crazy fuzz for hair or whatever. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Ollie. Someone asked the question about the legal side. Curtis asked, last week we talked about the indemnification clause with clients as a somewhat of a mandate. I guess the question would be like, if you're going to generate something using AI generative tools, is there any kind of legal clearance you need to do or see or had conversations about that that you have to get, some sort of support or protection from your clients?
Yeah.
Further
So
issue.
if you're using their character that you've created for them, they own that. That's pretty, if you're putting them into an AI generated image, it's just using certain models. Vassil, am I right on that? That seems like the base of,
Sheila, you want to jump in on some of this?
yeah.
That is the hardest question right now is
Yeah.
what's legal, what's not legal. We're always trying to figure that out. I'm actually on a panel with a bunch of lawyers in South by Southwest in Australia, and we're all asking the same questions, and there's not really a clear answer. Some clients, especially smaller ones, are like, okay, let's just do it.
Oh, yeah, who
Uh,
cares?
Other ones are like, no, 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 no. Like we had a couple calls with Pepsi or Coke, and they're just like, no way, we're not even going there. So it really is case by case basis right now. But one thing I think people should understand, there's so many different AI models that are specified for different tasks. It's not about specifically generating an image. It might be sorting an image. It might be automating an image. It might be recognizing image. And those are still related to what we do. And those are, as far as I understand, clear to use legally because they're not really generating anything.
Mhm.
So there's so many possibilities still for AI to be explored. We're like in the middle of it all and testing different models and trying to find use cases for clients is what we're at right now. And some are having legal problems, but others are just no problem. Go ahead and use them. So it is case by case scenario.
Like you just really need an AI curious client. It's just somebody that is being tasked with figuring it out and heading into the frontier. And I think a key way to like kind of have it not be an issue is just not have people in it. I know that sounds crazy, but when you eliminate like humanity from it, so that's why I like this like character or product world is a little bit better because you're not in a situation where somebody could recognize themselves or think they're recognizing themselves or and then also, like voices, I do think human voices are important. That for me with Scrimps is a real thing, though AI voices are very impressive, like kind of unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
So,
Lucille,
um,
though, but you can build your own model, right? Like you can take a bunch of original stuff you've generated, add a model, and then ask the tool to do it, and it's pulling it from
So,
material.
so you can build your own model, but to really build your own model is not really feasible right now. What we do is we modify models that are existing. We put things on top of the models. However, you to build your own model, you need, I think, 20 billion images and, millions of dollars to get a base model going. Once you have that base model, you can build on top of it. But to build your own models from scratch, that's very expensive. I think Adobe did it where they build everything from their stock images. It's not a very good model. There's no control
yeah,
to the model. There's no control net. So it is very limiting. But when we say building your own model, we're really saying modifying an existing model to a point where it gives you more control.
Because like in
Um,
Erin's images, it would be, is it possible to identify the source of what the generative AI is pulling from in order to make the stuff Erin's doing? There's no reference, right? I mean, it's pulling fabric and layers and background images, but it's not
no, I
identifying.
don't think if you took Aaron's image and you could say, oh, that's Midjourney or that's Flux modified, unless you maybe go into the metadata. But just visually doing it would be very hard. So in that case, no. But I really like what James Cameron kind of said about the legal stuff is like, why not? Don't worry about what the data that went in there. Worry about the output. Are you reproducing Mickey Mouse or not? If you're producing your own original character like Aaron's doing, then it should
yeah,
not be an issue with anything else that came before it. It is like a designer taking inspiration from thousands, if not millions of sources and creating something that's original to then what Aaron wants it to do. So I feel like that should be the future. It's like as long as the output is original, it doesn't look like anything else, then it should be a legal thing to use for production and for your own brand as well.
yeah.
Did you have a question for these guys?
And more like a comment, I guess. I understand the whole conversation is about AI and originality, but we just completed a project where we built out like an illustration guidelines for a client who already was using AI, themselves. And we built out an entire section for how to use AI so they
Right.
could use it in, illustration, the extending the illustration toolkit, animation. And there is very little originality needed because in the business world, that's not usually what they're after. They're after things that people can relate to. Imagine if you need let's just say it's a table lamp,
Mhm.
right? Illustration. It can look exactly like 10,000 other illustration of table lamps out there, except it's using their colors and in the right context is theirs. And that is, like, do you don't need any originality there, really? It's like you can take something so generic, but if you do it often enough with the right combination, it becomes yours. And that's kind of the approach, right? So they can take a illustration set that we just made for them, like 100 things. They can literally go to Midjourney generate another 100. Go
Yeah.
back to Illustrator and hit vectorize,
No, you're good.
recolorize, and now they have 200. And I don't think there is any legal, ramification for something like that because it looks like 10,000 other things anyways.
Yeah.
That's what Mr. was saying too, like that there are AI components, resize, reformat, whatever, that you're using a technology that was trained on something, but the actual output is not generated in original imagery.
And then I think to add to the gray area even further, right? Have you guys played with Illustrator Beta with a turntable? I mean, you create an object, now you do that turntable and you create 100 other variations from different angles. Now, is that your work or is it AI work? I would argue that's your work because you created original artwork, right? So it's like, where is the line?
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like people were having this debate when like the desktop computer came in and, we're looking at Toy Story, like what's ours versus what's the machines, right? Like, so I don't know. I think it's a like incredibly useful tool. I wouldn't have been able to get this far with it if it was just like the before times. So I feel like, on the side and with my network, I've been able to really develop something that I've always been intrigued to do, but didn't have the bandwidth to do. That's now kind of starting to creep into my real life. And like, oh, people are interested in this. They're interested in it as a entertainment property and as a brand in and of itself. And people are interested in like, wait, like, how are you doing that? Like, people aren't really doing that yet and are having issues doing that, or doing that in a limited capacity. So what could that mean for us with our product or character or something like that? Yeah.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
I feel like, well, I just appreciate you joining us because I feel like there's a level of encouragement that's coming from you because of the work you put into it. And because you've just been keeping up with this hobby, now turned real kind of like, or almost on the tipping point of turning to service.
Another job.
Whatever.
Another
Yeah.
job. Yeah, exactly.
And I almost feel like a lot of the industry is moving this direction anyways, and it's good for people to understand and embrace a piece of this momentum. Some people might be more technology savvy and want to be part of that element. Yours is very creatively savvy, so you were encouraged because you have an output and an eye and a specific thing you're trying to get out of it. And so to learn that piece of it so that your skill is developing feels like the move that most people are going to have to get into with this technology shift.
Yeah, I think there's a couple waves. The first wave, and I think it's analogous to the web when the web came about. Like there's the first web wave where you had designers going like, oh, no, thank you. Like, I don't know HTML. I don't want to be a programmer, like not interested. But then, some people, obviously designers were doing it because websites were being created and designers were making things and putting things out there. But then tools started, like Dreamweaver popped up. And like, so then all of a sudden designers had these like very usable interfaces to start making things in a very friendly way. I think that AI is going to be very similar. There's going to be this early wave of adopters that are just really curious about how to use it, have ideas, and are gonna like kind of struggle through the early days of AI and integrations. And then they're gonna be the people that wait for Adobe to, and Cinema and all these tools to kind of figure it out and have it packaged and ready for them. And I don't know, I've never really been a waiter.
Yeah, right.
And that's okay. I mean, that's totally fine. It's okay to wait for like the tools to adapt. Like at that point, a lot of the legal stuff will be crystal clear. I mean, we all know if we're using Adobe Firefly that we're good to go. You know what I mean? And so we do have some clients that's what it is. If you make it in Firefly, you're good.
It's not very RevThinky of you though. Like RevThink is the best way to deal with the future is to create it. And there is like, I remember and I'm very excited in the late 90s, early 2000s to embrace that technology even just motion design was not quite motion design when we got into it. We had to make the rules and make the technology do it. And I'm thankful for leaning into it. There is
Yeah.
this wonderful big wave about to come, and we're
Yeah.
hurting a little bit because one wave is going out while the other one's coming in, and they didn't cross over so clean. But there is something that there's a spot for everyone.
Yeah.
And to, like, I'll just say, like, our followers, the RevThink followers, should understand, like, we're asking you to, like, lean in and use some critical thinking and find the path that works for you, but not just wait. You'll just become a commodity. Like, the current technology has pushed you to commodity, and there's no reason to wait for the commodity version of the new tech. It's too exciting, too big, and way too valuable.
So interesting. When I was applying for jobs at a college, I made a DVD with my work on it, like, and I programmed it in Director. And I also made this like really beautiful print book to go with it. I even got, like, from my local printer, this thing that like rounded the corners on all the pages and all that stuff. Anyway, so I sent that on Betacam. That's awesome. I sent that to Digital Kitchen, You and Company, and Imaginary Forces, just 3 places because that's all there were. And DK got back to me right away, and it was because of the craftsmanship of the piece itself. My animation was like fine, obviously I was a designer because the typography was really beautiful, but there was this thing in the DVD that I programmed, which is when you move the cursor, like this glowing trail followed it. That's what got me the job at Digital Kitchen, was
That's
that glowing
amazing.
trail, and like just like the cool rounded corners on the on the on the thing. And it was just a simple little thing that just made it a like delight to play with my portfolio. It became, and it was like so visual and so beautiful. And so I think about that. I was like a designer that took these fucking stupid classes over at the computer science and like begged to get in them. I'm like, I gotta figure out how to make my portfolio cooler than what's going on there. So I need some like little hacks, And so I wound up in like C++ classes, and in this, I don't know, it was called like a turtle world. It's kind of a bizarre thing, like programming in Director. So that's what got me my first gig.
But then maybe 20 plus years later, you're one of the only five people on the planet to make Superman credits. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah. And actually it looks kind of
get
similar to that trail.
It is a throwback. It's the same damn trail.
It is a throwback. It's very actually quite similar to
Yeah.
that trail. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think that's pretty amazing. I'm going to keep these conversations going about AI, and I am kind of gathering a bunch of people together in September. I think we're going to just do a quick series from soup to nuts.
Yeah.
Different parts of it. Maybe at that point, you and Vasile could
I think so,
sort
because
of a sample of what you're actually doing on the video side, because it's a huge breakthrough. I didn't want to expose that today or put you guys on the
no, it's
fuzzy
cool.
path.
And like it'll be much further along than we're definitely not early stages anymore. We actually are like very consistently creating output, but we are working on some fun stuff in the background. What I was really in working with Vasile back and forth, and in talking about some other stuff that they're doing, that it's just like it's very production pipeline friendly thing. So stuff that even if you're not thinking about like wanting to use AI, like you can use it to like pull mats. You could use it to like do rotos. You can use it to do like quite a bit. Like, so that stuff is out there, and it is time and money saving. And, we do send out rotos and rotomation and things like that. And, to have something that you could just have like a couple like amazing computers crank on it over a weekend doing a roto or something like that. That's that's nice. That saves us a little time and money. I mean, like budgets are getting trimmed. I feel like in general, the value of our work has shrunk. Like what people are paying for the work is just a little bit less. And there's a million reasons for it. That's probably not for this. But like creating efficiencies just in our own pipeline like that is a good thing. Is a good thing.
Yeah. It's gonna, there's like a quality of life or quality of product that we can achieve also. That right now, I understand there are some people that work and do some of these elements themselves by hand. But I don't think the advancement of technology is coming so fast that people's careers are going to be wiped out completely. It's only if you choose to stand still that you're going to be wiped out. That's always been true. It's just been true for the 30 years I've been in this industry. There's plenty of people I know that are realtors nowadays because they just didn't stay in the process and keeping up with it. It's always going to
Also, like, our field is exhausting. Like, we're at the end of the line. You know, CMOs aren't going to make their own commercials. Like, there's going to, you know, we might need like less hands on things, but we're still going to need really talented craftspeople in the mix. So, yeah, I don't see our work really changing. I just feel like the tools are going to evolve and things are going to get in some ways simpler, but need even more of a critical eye. So,
yeah. All right. Thank you for being part of this. It's a whole hour. So it's funny, for the last few times that we've talked about this as a topic, we filled a full hour. Sometimes we only just plan for 30 minutes. So thanks for being part of that and sharing what you're doing. It is very encouraging to hear someone that is pushing this thing. And I know you're seeing the same thing as me. That's like toy to tool movement is way further on the tool side than the toy side anymore. So moments come, the tipping point is here, and people have to start seeing this for real and asking the bigger questions. I know there are very practical things that are needed too. By the way, Erin is active in community. So if you're part of RevCommunity and you have further questions, you can just post something in the discussion forum. Erin will comment. You can DM her in the community. Very open to it. And if you want to be scrimped, what do we do, Erin?
Yeah, just email me.
Just
email me. Just bye. You will be scrimped and you will hate it, but your family will love it.
You will hate it, and that's what you love about it. Don't be. As we realized at the top of the hour, Basile says it looks just like me. If that's what I look like, okay, I guess I didn't quite realize that yet. That's
the eyes, the crazy, crazy, crazy eyes.
Yeah. And I truly, as I told you, and I guessed which photo would give me the best look and whatever. And you're like, yeah, you can't guess. There's just no.
You never know.
Just put it out there real and let it be.
So you don't have the crazy eyes like in real life, but somehow you do inside you. I don't know. She just captured it perfectly. I don't know why. It's really good. Really good.
Yeah. Oh my God. Disaster.
All right.
Like, you're gonna hate this, but here you go. Pick between these two.
You give me two.
Yeah, they're both not great. You're not gonna like either of them, but pick one.
The text that I got first was, by the way, I love these. And then you sent me the two images. So you anchored me into, you better like one of these two because
I said I have more. I don't want somebody to feel bad. Sometimes people feel really bad. And then you're like, oh God, who's going to tell them that the mole is the main feature on their face?
Right.
The other day, I have a new friend, an agency person that just hired us to do a big job for them. And he has like the biggest ears. And he was like, oh, will you do me? And I was like, I will. But just so you know, your ears will be hero. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah, don't.
I get it out of the way. It's going to be all ears and this like tiny little face. And you're just done for.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, right? Yeah.
He's South African. So he obviously has a good sense of humor.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Erin. And I appreciate all you guys. I love you guys. I'm glad this is working for you. This is encouraging. Please keep it going. And we'll see you next week.